Hallo, agus fáilte go trí seascad den program ag BBC Alba a bhí sa géisi na scíalachan ingantach an an seuil spòrs na ban in Alba. Is me Shannon Ballantyne agus ha mí toilte fáilte go seanskipper Hearts Mariel Kaney in stiùidio in Pilkington. Program na heiche noch. Héit me hínas Mariel tro h-uile cáris teandaigh a sé deireadh cheachcin rang eile an an balcóisian an ban. Has snàmhadair para-limpigeach lára Pilkington i gcísgurinn cosánna haigh cho cudromach go bhfuil spòrs fosgailte gan na h-uile duine. Agus a cluicheadair Baile Dhun-lèibhe, Shannon Mulligan a toirt sùil season eachdraidheil gan chlub. Mariel, welcome to 360.
Thank you for having me.
Well, let's hear all about you and your career in football and even more recently your career with Hearts, because I know you have recently retired, but just bring us back to the start and where it all began.
Yeah, I began playing with my brother in the garden when I was really little, and I just loved playing. I used to play with all his friends, and I played in my primary school boys team because there wasn't really a girls team at that point. And then eventually we did get a girls team in sort of primary 6, primary 7, which led me on to play in the high school girls team, and eventually I was a little bit later to club football. I didn't join until I was about 14. I joined Hibs because that was the sort of girls' academy, if you like, at that time in Edinburgh. So yeah, that was how I got started. And then from Hibs, I was at Hibs for a long time, and then I've had spells at Spartans and then eventually Hearts.
Mm-hmm. And it's quite amazing how you have balanced all of that with life throughout the whole time of playing, because I know you were telling me how you'd be at uni and then trying to get to training, because training took up a lot of hours, didn't it? Training and playing. Yeah,
it's a lot of time. I think you just need to be kind of dedicated, and I always put it on a sort of par in my life with anything else that I was doing. I just had to get to football, so I just, I committed to trying to make that work, and I love playing, so it didn't feel like a sacrifice. But there's obviously some difficulties that come with that. There's some challenges in terms of just the practicalities of getting from A to B and that sort of thing, the travelling and that sort of stuff, but managed to make it work, all through school and all through university and all through working life, really. So I'm quite proud of that.
It's quite amazing. You were telling me it was 22 hours training a week on top of full-time work, which as a solicitor is very intense.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it's a lot of time. It's a lot of time when you put it like that. We're probably in 5 or 6 days a week by the end of things. So, but that's the way the game's going. It's really professional now. That's what it takes to kind of be at that level and be a professional athlete like that. And it's something that I've always loved doing. So I didn't feel it as such a sacrifice. But now that I've stopped and you recognise the time that you were sort of giving to it, it's amazing to have that time back to do other things and explore other things, because it's an opportunity I've never had before.
I can imagine. But tell us about Hearts, because you did recently retire. You were captain of Hearts. There has been a huge change over the 4 years that you were with them. Even just bring us back to the start, and then you kind of went through all of COVID, and now they're doing really well.
Yeah, I came to Hearts when the women's team wasn't really part of the club as such. We were sort of a community arm. We're playing out at Dalkeith on a pitch there without really any association whatsoever to the club or the men's side of things, or any access to the facilities that Hearts really had. So a very different setup to where we are today. I think gradually after those sorts of seasons, the club sort of began to invest more in the women's team and bring them in-house, if you like, and make them, make it a real sort of beeline to make sure that they had a strong women's setup. And over the course of the 4 years, we've kind of gone from not being so attached to coming into the club to basically being a professional football team, which is amazing in such a short space of time.
It's amazing to hear. It's amazing to see, even if we look at the past few seasons. The first season that Hearts gained promotion to SWPL 1, finished last in the league, 8th. Then the league extended. The second season in the top league finished 8th again, just 2 teams below. Now this season, Hearts have secured 4th spot. How do you put that into words?
Yeah, I guess this is a sort of 5th year of the journey, but it's been an incredible journey from start to finish. It really is hard to believe. We had a tough time through COVID. Promotion was quite tough in many ways. COVID hit just after it. We lost pretty much that full title winning squad and our manager at that time, so that was really tough for the club to recover from, and it took us a couple of years to rebuild. But some of the younger players that we sort of maybe had to force into first team action during those years are now playing in the first team now, and they've secured fourth. It's amazing to see that they've got to be part of that journey, and they've sort of kick-started their probably professional football career that way. So it's been amazing to be a part of it. It's still incredible what Hearts have achieved in a 5-year period is not something I think anybody could have imagined, really.
Yeah, it's been incredible to watch. But for you as captain of that team throughout that time, how did you kind of keep morale up and then look where they've ended up?
Yeah, I think after we won promotion, obviously promotion was the highlight for everybody. I think for everybody's careers, some people's lives, that was such a great day at Tynecastle to win that. And then coming up, COVID was really tough for us. Like I said, we lost a lot of players and our manager, so it was a huge time of change. We had to bring up a lot of effectively under-19 team to play first team football, and we were taking some heavy defeats. And yeah, you sort of have to flip it in your mind, I think, to think, our aim isn't 3 points, it's just unrealistic for us at this stage. It's about the performance and what we can develop for next year. Probably a little bit lucky that year there wasn't a relegation because of the way the COVID season had played. You only played half a season, so it kind of gave us a little bit of time to bed in the under-19s. But it was tough. As one of the older players, there was a lot of pressure on the older players at that point in time to try and kind of keep going and keep a happy face and keep everything running as smoothly as it could do, but we managed it in the end, and at least we did manage to improve a little bit the season after that, which gave us some hope.
Well, a huge job well done. How proud are you now of the team and everything that's been achieved? Yeah,
it still very much feels like my team. It's amazing to watch them and how well they've done, and in the last few months since I've gone, and securing fourth was something I think we'd always sort of secretly wanted to achieve. I think top 6 was the official aim, but I think we always thought, could we aim for fourth, or is that too much of a gap from 8th where we were before? But we brought in a lot of new players, more professionalised training, more professionalised setup, and it's all paid off, and it's amazing to see.
Well, brilliant work, very well done. Wel, clinician yn nes fo he y fydd y clwch balcosio awn sy'n SWPLA li Baile Dhun-lèibhe yn a hysyn a sé gaif glwysyd sŵs yn dhearbhadh gain siochau. A Shannon Mulligan y brain with dri cwca sio agos dyn y doch sy'n heichgyr son y lyfi lain eses yn awn rydych.
Hoshi Shlia Balcosha a cluicheadair mian Baile Dhun-lèibhe Shannon Mulligan ag an high. Ayas chrochegus and biaun gan cluicheadair.
It was just when I was about 5 or 6. My brother, he was playing football back then as well, so I was just kicking about in the back with him and stuff like that, and obviously going to his training and games, and then at school as well. Obviously all the other girls wanted to do dancing, but maybe me, I also went into football, and it just took off from there. I think I just more done it for fun. And there wasn't many girls teams from where I'm just from a small village, so there wasn't really many girls that played football. And then I just went to a local team in Whitburn and just winning some games, and then went to Muirston, and then we won a league there. And then I think after that I knew I was into the competitiveness. I think it's when we won the league, because that was my first ever win in the league, so I thought this is what I want to do, and obviously didn't think about going anywhere else, but I thought win the league again and stuff, and yeah.
Waar Shannon de nog is cluicheag iedereen's aarste in een balcosje in een baan in Alba. Ach, hoe loon staat er een broeder sin de betrayers en dhearbhadh.
So I first played for Blackburn, and then I moved to Glasgow Women, who were the league above, and I unfortunately tore my MCL during that time. So playing in that league was a bit tough, trying to come back for that injury. So obviously I dropped back down and went back to Blackburn. And then the news came out that we were actually all moving to Livingston. So it's the same team, but just under a different name, and then here we are today. I think because obviously it's a bigger club, it's brought more experienced players and stuff, and obviously it's only really our second full season together, and I feel where we are in the league just now shows how much we've improved in the past 2 years. I've loved it. I've had certain points where I wasn't sure if I was going to keep playing football, and then obviously coming here and where we are now, it's made me enjoy it a lot more.
Han cluicheadair mian a gadgeach, Gan the bheacha hí na bóta na naige a chrochach mus the h-uile go Blackburn.
Yeah, because I tried to go back after 3 months, I think it was, and I just found it really hard to get back into it and get your fitness back and stuff, so I wasn't really sure if I was going to continue. And then coming back to Blackburn, I think that helped me get the love back for it again. But it can also be a down time for you, but you just need to look at the positives and know that you can get back if you put in the hard work and stuff and just work on the injury and you'll get back to where you want to be.
Ha Shannon and Nish na páirse skipa Baile Dhun-lèibhe lé sarvachal. Ha ddíireach àrdachadh go bhuanachú chun SWPL yeah.
Yeah, I think so. So it was hard when we first became Livingston. Obviously COVID came, so we had to obviously stop playing football. And then, so this is our second full season together, and we've brought in fitness coaches, and having a good pre-season is, I think, has got us where we are today. It's a very, very competitive league, and obviously we've only had 2 games we've been beat, but it shows like Morton, obviously they were at the bottom of the league, but they gave us a good game here and it was a draw, so you just don't know what could happen.
Persente, ha season lé sarvachal bhí Shannon. If I'm at on a skipper championship na bliana.
It's really good, and obviously with social media that helps and stuff, but I just try and play my game, and if you get recognised, obviously it's really, really good, but yeah.
Shannon go mór a coiad a rud chun na season de balcóise SWPL yeah. Agus ha toirt bhí fine jólas àrdachadh le chlub a half go cria.
I feel like it'd be really good, and especially with this group of girls. Obviously some of them haven't been up there before, so, and obviously some are experienced and have done it, but I feel like I'm excited if we obviously go up to experience it with this club. So once we go up there, we could bring in even more experienced players and hopefully can do well up there as well. It's a local club for me, and I've been to obviously a few games when I was younger and stuff like that, so I think I'd like to see my career finish here, but I'm not saying when that is because I'm not that old yet, but no, I'd probably like to see it out here.
Sinna corman a hec borinich og, agus clonian an Alba, root a Shannon late toirt me in.
As I've said earlier, when I was younger I had to play for boys clubs, so it was a bit harder, so I had to play for them until I was about 14. And then I was able to find a women's team to go at, so I feel like nowadays for younger girls to be able to get into football, and hopefully here we've got like the 16s and 18s and stuff, so hopefully we can even do younger age groups to bring more girls into football. But I think for women's football as a whole now, it's amazing to see the support that everybody gets now.
Well, a huge congratulations to Livingston on their promotion up to SWPL 2. You know what it's like climbing up the ranks. What do they have to look forward to?
Yeah, I think they've got some big fixtures ahead. A really exciting pre-season for them, building towards that sort of new goal. I think is always a really exciting time for a club and a player. You know that you're going to have to lift your standards and probably be a wee bit fitter. The game's probably going to be a bit faster, and you're probably going to be faced with more technical players. So lots to be excited about. Probably a little bit of worry in there as well, enough to make the girls kind of step up. And but I know that Livingston are really excited about it, and they deserve to be up there. So I'm looking forward to seeing how they get on.
There were some great pictures and videos of when they did gain promotion at the weekend. Do you remember what that was like when you were promoted from SWPL 2 to SWPL 1?
Yeah, it was amazing. Definitely one of the best days of my football career, and something really special to look back on with that group of players that you'll always share. And it's it's a year's hard work all the way from pre-season to kind of get to that stage, and every week you're sort of worrying about the 3 points and making sure that you get them. So it takes so much to get there. So yeah, it's an amazing feeling when you achieve it, and yeah, I think Livingston will enjoy their celebration.
And for Livingston too, how good is it to see another team, can we say the East, coming in, coming into the ranks too? Yeah,
it's not somewhere I think they've been before, but the club, I think have really taken the women's section under their wing and really brought them into the club, and I know a lot of players there that are really happy with that and really excited to see, for the club to push on in that way as well. So yeah, a really exciting time for everybody involved.
And you know players who play for Livingston and who really, really love it, don't they?
Yeah, they really enjoy it. I think it's it's a great group, and the club support makes a big difference. It's local for a lot of girls, which also helps and makes a big difference. And they've got quite a big squad, quite an experienced squad, and a good mix of youth players as well. So it seems like the perfect blend at the moment. So I'm not surprised they've done as well as they have this year.
And for Shannon too, I mean, it's great that she's playing and really enjoying it, and has been through an injury. You know all about that and what that's like, and coming back to football after.
Yeah, I think it's never an easy thing to go through. I think it's probably more common than it should be in women's sport in general, but she's done really well to come back. I think there's, she mentioned having doubts about whether she would make it back, but she was obviously been successful in doing that, and that's great to see, and that she's stuck with it, and now she's got a reward in terms of a title, and gets to push upwards towards the higher leagues and see what they can do in that league.
What about your experience of injury? So many people go through it. I mean, ACL injuries in the women's game is huge right now. It's quite scary almost every second day hearing of another prominent player going through this. I know it wasn't your ACL that you did, but tell us about your injury and coming back to sport with that time out. Yeah,
so I had surgery on my knee as well, and it took me a little while to recover from that. I think there's always the chance that you might come back too early, because you maybe, certainly at that time, didn't have the right support in terms of club support around you. This was when I was at Spartans. I actually took some time away from the game after it to try and recover. It'd been about a year waiting to get the operation, which I think is another problem for women at this point in time. They often don't, they can't access medical care quickly, so that kind of hits your career a little bit. It certainly impacted mine for a couple of seasons, I think. I played through it for a long time because I knew I couldn't access the surgery. So you're sort of doing everything that you can to put it off if you can. But it's not an easy thing to go through, but I think ultimately, makes you a lot stronger when you do come back, and you're a lot more sort of body aware. Certainly the time that it happened for me was sort of mid-20s, and when I came back I was a lot more careful with my body and preparing right and recovering right, and probably boosted professionalism overall, I would say, but not an easy thing to go through. But Shannon's done really well to recover and get back to the level that she's at. Yeah,
it's great to hear that you were obviously both back playing, and I know for you until retirement really enjoying it too. Just going back to Livingston, what do you think they can expect from moving up into SWPL2 and just that change, a huge change in playing and training? Yeah, it's a big change for them. I think probably the pace of the game is the biggest thing, I'd say, between the leagues. I think that might come as a bit of a shock to the system, because it just naturally does. It's just much faster. The higher that you go, everybody is faster, but the ball moves faster. So you need to think faster as well as be able to physically move faster. It's a lot of your tactics need to be better. You need to be better drilled, as well as being physically able to cope with the speed of the game. So I think it's a really competitive league at SWPL2. It's been competitive for the last few years. So really exciting, because they could go up there and do really, really well if they have a good pre-season, and I'm sure they'll be aiming to do just that. Great. Well, very, very huge congratulations to Livingston, and we're excited to see where they go. A couple of other teams we need to mention: Montrose on their promotion too, and FC Edinburgh. How great is it to see those teams and the success? Yeah, Montrose have done amazingly well. I think they've been really strong in SWPL2 this year. There's a lot of good teams in SWPL2 who've all been vying for that position, but Montrose have held it, and held it firmly, I think. So deserved winners, and they've got a hugely exciting test going up to SWPL1 now, and all that brings, and all the excitement and the professional players and that sort of stuff that they're going to come up against. But that's what a chance for their players to test themselves at that level. And FC Edinburgh are managed by Andrew Enwood, who did win SWPL2 with Hearts, so he was my manager at that time. So it's amazing to see him win another title, and I know FC Edinburgh are wanting to push on and get up the leagues as quickly as they can. So this is a good start for them. Definitely. Well, a very exciting time in the league. Great to see it all happening. Yep. Well, in Talm and Nish Cluicheadair von snàmhadair Laura Pilkington, Madriach and his snab, agus a hopperly spòrs cudromach agus spòrs Alba. See a cudromach cluicheadair h-uile agus a còmhla cudromach sa haig go bhfuil corm ag a h-uile duine spòrs eachdraidheil.
leis go méasal sa bhaid snamh roinnig lára Pilkington in spòrs haingu iad as áirste. Bonúir sin han snàmhadair para-limpigeach iad imich lára go bhriseach san námar snamh.
My journey was swimming. When I was on holiday with my family, I used to love going into the pool, and they had this thing on holiday when if you were under 18, you could go to this thing called splashdown twice a day, and I used to go twice a day every day because I was like, I can get in the pool by myself, like I can go with my friends, so I used to love that. I'm sure the staff loved me because I was the only one there sometimes, but yeah, I just loved being in there. And then one year I came back and I was like, I want to get in the pool a lot more, and I'd done pool swimming in PE, so I was like, okay, how can I get involved a bit more without having to get my family to come with me? So I was like, I googled disability swimming clubs and found a local one and then sent them an email, and it kind of just started from there. I don't know an exact point I wanted to be competitive. When I got into it, it was just for fun. I think I was a bit shocked when I went to the first training session that it wasn't the splashdown that I was used to. But no, it was great. And I went to my first competition. So after a few weeks of being there, they were like, oh, do you want to try and compete? And I was like, I don't really know, but I'll give it a shot. And I loved it. I was very nervous, but it was great. And it was great to see other people with disability as well, because at that point I hadn't met many people with disability. So being in an environment with lots of swimmers with a disability, it was great and kind of helped me come a lot more confidence in myself. I don't think Scottish records and the British record in breaststroke would be something that I would think as a younger child. I was always very ambitious. I think I still am very ambitious. But I didn't have my sights set on that. I think I was just always focused on wanting to get better, wanting to get technically better, wanting to improve my race skills, and just enjoying the sport, because I think you've got to enjoy the day in, day out process to make the whole thing worthwhile. And I think just all of that together kind of helped me get faster, and then that proceeded to be the Scottish records. But I'm really happy with what I've achieved, and I think sometimes I forget to be proud of that because I'm always looking forward.
Dá lára ha snamh sin na spórsin in gabhalacha bear agus ha gannecha gnópad a ha gí sons go be corm na share a go dinge.
Like inclusion in sport, I think there's a lot to be done, but I think the things that need to be done are the education around inclusion, but not just the education, but the actions to take forward. So I think there's a lot of talk about what are the barriers, what are the facilitators to disability sport, but it's like, what can we actually do to overcome them? Are the coaches, are the staff, are the guys up high in sport actually making a difference day in, day out? What are their aims and what are their objectives? And I think that's really important. And I think it's just simple things like asking people with a disability, how can I help? Because it's not the most complicated thing. I think sometimes people are scared to say the wrong thing, but it's better to say the wrong thing than just do nothing and not help. A big thing with inclusion is sometimes it feels like the people with a disability are the ones that have to drive it all. But there's only so many of us, and it's the people without a disability that should be driving the change, being the allies and being the ones that need to make a difference. So I think that's something that needs to improve, and everyone needs to drive for inclusion.
Ha lára a gópad le ciarm Alba, agus ha a gópad sur hálach cúteach le spòrs Alba. Par a suringi lú léisich in eile a chuteach, and a be a gíisiach in scialach aiche.
So I first started with Scottish Disability Sport. They did some of the swimming competitions that I grew up doing, and they were some of my first competitions. I then got involved in the Young Start programme, which was sort of a coach apprenticeship thing. I got involved in that at a time when I dropped out of my university course. I'd taken a gap year, and at that time I kind of didn't have a purpose. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, but Scottish Disability Sport could have helped me have a little bit of direction. They helped me do different leadership opportunities. Through that I got my Scottish Swimming teaching qualification. And it was just kind of something that helped me feel like I had a purpose when I was just so confused at what I was doing, and I was quite struggling at the time. So I'm really thankful for the opportunities they did give me. And then through that, I've had lots of opportunities. I'm now paid as a disability inclusion tutor with Scottish Disability Sport. So they've just brought me from being a young start, not having any qualifications, to now working for them as an inclusion tutor. And that's something I love doing. My volunteering started with the Young Start programme with Scottish Disability Sport. It was through that when I got such a passion to help others and to sort of shout about disability inclusion and be like, okay, maybe throughout my swimming career I've had these roadblocks, but what can I do to help others, and can I make one person get involved in disability sport? Because I was involved with disability sport quite late on, and I wish someone had come to me and said sooner when I was under 10 years old, being like, you can get involved in sport, but I didn't. So I was like, okay, I want to be that person that can speak to younger people and try and drive that change. So Sport Scotland had an opportunity in 2019 to apply for the Young Person Sport panel, and I wanted to sort of broaden my horizons, get involved within volunteering within not just disability sport but within sport in Scotland. So I applied for that in 2019 and was successful in getting on the young person sport panel, and that was just an amazing experience. 2 years, I just finished up there last year, but I've met amazing people, amazing connections, and I've actually got to like influence some change within sport in Scotland. So yeah, it's been an amazing experience, and I think through that I kind of just kept going with volunteering and loved it.
Trónópa dheich bhuain young start, halóra ith clasa háiscu, par bhfuil comasach do lú chléisi hin lecturum, bring me launch inching, agus it cymmer a gutach spòrs jefer a dhéanú gair.
So with the Young Start group, we worked in partnership with SAMH to form Disability Identity in Sport, which is looking at the impact of mental health, having a disability, and that sort of self-acceptance role, and how disability sport can have such an impact on that. All of the group kind of had experiences with mental health and how sport has made a difference for them. And I think for me, I've been on a roller coaster with self-acceptance, and I think I still will be, depending on the situation I'm in. So we're really keen to talk to other people with a disability and have that open conversation and help them with their self-acceptance and identity. But we've also branched out to talk to coaches and volunteers and look at the impact they can have on people with a disability, more so in inclusion, and how including people with a disability can make them feel better and have the opportunity to get involved in sport, but also that if they're not included, how they can feel and how that can impact their mental health, because it can make them feel unwanted and excluded, and you don't want that, and there's a big role that coaches and volunteers have to play in that. So we've done a lot of education in that, so we're still branching it out just now.
Hasnaf ith jefer vóra dhéanú an na Baile Dhun-lèibhe, agus ha I gamas ith na gemichan chólairs agus na gemichan para-limpigeach snàmhadair. Ith fallaf an amar snaf gata, ha Laura son lenting ora leis a hopeth, a viesi a dhéanú gus gynne a chudromach tros spòrs.
I don't think I would be the person I was today without sport. I don't know if that's a good thing or not. But yeah, I've had so many good experiences, met so many people. I think like most of my friends are from sport. Like I've got great teammates here that I'm swimming with now at the Edinburgh Uni, and I love it. I love the opportunities, I love the experiences. I've also met so many people with a disability because of sport, and that's made me feel less alone as well. And I've also had opportunities with Sport Scotland, Scottish Disability Sport, so I think my whole life has kind of revolved around me starting to swim, and I think if I'd never taken that first step to email that disability swimming club, like I don't know where I would be right now. But there's so many benefits to sport, not just going out, competing and doing well. It's the day in, day out, having fun with your friends and enjoying the process, I think is so great about sport. I'd say like my plans and ambitions for the future, I'll start with swimming. I think for swimming I'd love to compete internationally, sort of Commonwealth Games, Paralympic Games is something that I'm aiming towards, but just the day in, day out, I'm just trying to get better, get my processes better, try and be better as an athlete, and hopefully that can lead up to that. And I don't know what I'm going to do in my future after uni. I'm hoping to work in disability sport. I've applied for a couple of things within tutoring as well, so I really love disability inclusion tutoring, and I kind of want to expand tutoring to different options. I also do volunteering with Sport Scotland as a Fit for Girls tutor, so I love working with people, just talking about sport, sort of helping that education grow. So I'm hoping that I can get more jobs like that. But yeah, I'm trying not to put too much pressure on myself at the moment and just see what happens. Reflecting on my sports journey, there's been a lot of up and downs. Like, my disability is brittle bones disease, so it means I've got short stature, but my bones also break easily. I've got scoliosis of the spine, like my joints are quite loose. So it's looking at, I've been out the pool so many times because of injuries, and I've also struggled with mental health, so like my journey's been a roller coaster. I've had great times and I've had really, really tough times. So I think I reflect back and I think, wow, I've gone through a lot, but it's good to still be swimming and still enjoying it, and I think that's the main thing for me.
Mariel, what an incredible young woman. How much did you enjoy just seeing how passionate and enthusiastic Laura is about sport?
Yeah, she's so inspiring. I think passionate's the right word, and how much she just loves to be in the pool, and how that's really shaped her whole life, and she's got her friends through that, and it looks like she's going to go on to hopefully have a career in that, and really passionate about making change in sport, which I think you need people like that, especially in Scotland, in a small country, that can really want to drive forward change in a positive way. So that's amazing to see.
And you see, I mean, we know about it, but you just see how important disability inclusion is, and that's what Laura and so many people work so hard to achieve, because it can change lives.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, like we were just talking about, a lot of it is just awareness, and having that thought in your head, and speaking to people and being open about it. Like Laura said, I don't think anybody is going to criticise you for asking questions. If you're, curious and you want to know something, then people are generally willing to help you learn as well, because they just want a positive outcome. And it shouldn't just be down to disabled people to drive change in that area. It should be down to everyone. So it's just something to be aware of, I think, for all of us.
And I think Laura's story is one of those great examples of how sport can change your life, just from dipping in the pool on those sessions on holiday. Where Laura now is in sport, it's incredible.
Yeah, it looks like it's given her such a strong foundation to fall back on if anything is going on in life, like it does for everybody. Everybody has ups and downs, but the pool's always there for her, and I think that's the same for a lot of people that play sport. It can be that kind of anchor for you, whatever sport it is. That's maybe where your friends are, or just where you feel most at home. So it's amazing to see that she's found somewhere like that.
Absolutely. Well, I really hope to see Laura too in the pool at the Commonwealth Games or the Paralympics, because that would just be brilliant. It would just kind of pull everything together of what's going on in and out of the pool, which would be great to see. But if we move it back on to football and Hearts, and what do you think is the goal now for the team to achieve next season?
I think probably to start to challenge the top three a little bit more. So securing fourth this year was obviously amazing, and a huge achievement, but I think there's more that the club wants in terms of more points from Rangers, Celtic and Glasgow City have dominated up there for a long time. Not been Hibs yet either, Hearts, so I think that's one that's on their mind as well. So I think those sorts of aims more in terms of points and challenges in the top three is probably what they're looking for first and foremost next year.
Yeah, and Hearts and Hibs have been great actually at smashing attendance records too this season, and kind of every time they play Easter Road or Tynecastle. How much would you like to see that kind of continue on and really build the growth of people coming to watch?
Yeah, it's amazing to see that, and it's amazing to, I've obviously been lucky enough to experience it, and it's such an amazing feeling. You're not used to playing in front of fans like that, but it really does impact you hugely. I think when you've got so many thousands of people watching you and supporting you like that, it's amazing for the game, and it's amazing for the players to play in front of.
What about over the next 5 to 10 years for Hearts and for the league in general? Because if we even look at the 5 years that you played with Hearts, 4 to 5 years, so much happened. Where do you think the game can go up here? Yeah,
I think, we're talking five seasons or so since I started. In 5 seasons' time, it's potentially going to be a fully professional league. It's not a million miles away from it now. The split sort of separates that from the teams that are maybe pushing towards that and teams that aren't quite at this moment in time. But if you look at the growth in the last 5 years, it's hard to not see it progressing in that way, and we might potentially have a full-time professional league at the top of the game, which would be amazing. It's something that not everybody's going to be a part of or aim for, but it's amazing to have it there for those that do want to aspire to be a professional footballer. Yeah,
is that what you would like to see, a full-time professional league kind of?
I think it needs to be sustainable, and it needs to be right for the game, but I think with the growth over the sort of short term, I think it is achievable. It needs to be right for the game is the only thing. I think a wee bit of caution there from other leagues around the world where they've jumped too quickly into that, but it will be led by the clubs, and I think that's something to aspire to, as long as it's done in the right way.
You'll still be cheering on?
Of course, yeah.
I can imagine so many years in the game, it would be difficult to leave it, but Mariel, thank you so much for joining us this week. It's been lovely to have you on, lovely to hear about all your stories over the years of sport and Hearts, and a huge thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, sinna son in noch gna cheachgain bí siúrige in SWPL fiona nícin tuir callroom sin studio. Jan cínseach go bhfuil Valentin BBC Alba son a h-uile fis go cheangal cherry trí sesgad ain. Agus na díochnichih go bhfuil dagem a cín jadónig sa tíain le cúsin hast go teann ag múlach in league. Ha Hibs a cluiche Celtic agus ha Glasgow City ag an thay rí Partick Thistle beyond show BBC Alba. Mar sin live and drast.